everyone. It's a very hot, amazing summer evening. We're delighted to see you. I am going to do a bit of an introduction to our information session this evening, but I will start with our land acknowledgement. That is the North custom now. So I'll read that before making some introductions. The municipality of North Grenville acknowledges that the municipality operates in the territory of the Anishinaabe. We recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who now call North Grenville their home. We respect and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship, and we commit to Indigenous informed decision-making to foster the path towards reconciliation. So, thank you so much for being here. I think this is information session number 3, and we thought, of course, it was important to bring people together and to share information on one of this region's largest capital roads projects, certainly in our community's history. I have with me this evening most of my council colleagues, so if you could raise your hands. We have Deputy Mayor John Barkley, we have Councillor Jamila Sullivan, we have Councillor Deb Wilson here this evening. Am I missing one? Okay. We also have a number of staff, Karen Dunlop, our CEO, Julie, our councilperson who's working behind the scenes with Bruce Enlow from my office, as well as Matt Gilmer from our economic development team. Have I missed anyone on the staff level? All right. So, with that, we're very pleased this evening to be joined by Bill Guy, who is the outgoing director for Public Works of the United Counties, and now construction manager, is that right? Construction manager for 43, as well as Director Mike Finley, who works with us here at the municipality, as many of you might know. Really, Bill and Mike are the go-to guys on this project. Those who are particularly involved because, as many may recall, this is a heavily led county's initiative. It's a county road. That being said, Mike and his team here at the municipality are certainly involved in many aspects of the project, from all of the underground works, water and sewer, as well as multi-use pathways, lighting, trees, some park benches. Am I getting anything else? More or less sums it up. So there's been some major underground infrastructure to tackle, so no easy feat. And as I think you're all aware, Tomlinson is the primary contractor on this project. And of course, we have Aegis, who is our contract management company, but really effectively, they're all ready to build and to some extent Mike. So we're very grateful that Bill sort of pushed what is a very short holiday to be with us this evening when we discussed certainly making this session available to the community. It's also being live streamed on our Facebook municipality page. So if you look for the municipality of North Grenville on Facebook, you can certainly share this session with friends, neighbors, colleagues. No doubt the activity on 43, as we all know, is very significant and it is ramping up. And there's a lot of curiosity in the community, naturally, about what are the next pieces of this project, how long will they take, and it's an evolving scenario in construction. So we're going to ask Bill to take us through a bit of a PowerPoint. If you've attended one of these sessions in the past, you'll know some of the drill, but there's some newer information on some more recent developments. And then really, we'd love to hear from you. So if you come with a burning question or a thought or a reflection, we really want to hear them this evening. This is your opportunity to engage with us on this multi-year endeavor. And we really value your feedback and your time. So with that, I'll pass it over to Bill, and then I'll help to manage the Q&A, and Mike is also here to answer questions specific to the municipal components of the project. Just as a reminder, as I think Bill will say, this is a capital initiative that's been supported by all 4 levels of government. The Tomlinson tender was just under $40 million, but another approximately 5 to 7 million had already been spent on engineering, elaborate and multiple designs, as well as some property acquisition, which was absolutely imperative to doing what we needed to do to get 43 rehabilitated and a old two-lane bridge that was reaching the end of its life, obviously replaced with a brand new 4-lane bridge that will, we think, stand the test of time. So over to Bill, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mayor Beckford. Excuse me. Welcome. Thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. I'm sure you have a lot of questions at the end, so I'll kind of just give you a little bit of a walkthrough of where we're at here with this thing and where we're going. We have some of the slides tonight are renderings of what it's going to look like when it's done. So you're going to get an idea of when we're finished. It's going to be a whole lot different than what we see up there right now, for sure. I'll tell you that. Okay, so as you can see here, I mean, we're creating a connection here. And this is, we've undertaken, well, as Mayor Beckford said, this may be the largest road project that the county has undertaken. And it's probably in our history. The project is creating a boulevard and expanding the 2 kilometers of the existing road from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, adding the multi-use pathways, extensive pedestrian services. There will be crossings, pedestrian crossings, signal pedestrian crossings throughout. So the focused areas are the widening of County Road 43, the expanding of the bridge, which will be a 4-lane bridge. The 2 lanes are out there now. They'll be moving traffic onto those 2 lanes probably sometime before the end of August, I would think, probably closer to the end of August. And then we'll start demolishing the existing bridge and then rebuilding the second half of the new bridge. The beautification, of course, that probably won't come. It's possible that may not happen until spring of 2027 to get all the landscaping and everything done. And, of course, pedestrian connectivity with the multi-use pathways and the signal crossings. So why expand 43? Well, to enhance the healthy and the thriving and the safer community. And it is a major thoroughfare, and it's getting quite busy up here. You guys are going like crazy up here. It's incredible the amount of growth going on and the development that's happening out here. And it's needed. So, and to expand it, the road is part of it. Like it's well designed. It's going to be. It's not just a basic road. It's going to look good. There's a lot of thought put into the beautification of it too. And it's 4-lane with roundabouts. 4 new roundabouts being added. There will be work done to the existing roundabout at County Road 19 and at Colonnade. So there will be a little bit of jigging around there, and the one at 19 will be made a little bit larger. So it improves the vehicle flow, increases the safety, especially of the pedestrians, promotes active transportation for pedestrians and cyclists, and that's with the multi-use pathways, which are 3 meters wide or 10 feet. There will be a skip line down the center so traffic can move, or bicycles can move in both directions. And the aesthetic enhancement of the lighting in the trees and the shrubbery in the streetscape. So this project began quite a while ago in 2010, so it was a long time in the making, and we just got it out to tender in late 2022, 2023. So it's been, maybe even later than that. So anyway, the government of Ontario, they downloaded this highway to the counties in the late 90s. And since then, there's been minimal upgrades by the counties because we knew this was coming, and it was in the works, and we did let it get in a pretty bad state. But here we are now, we're making that right. So it's beyond the end of its life cycle and required a significant reconstruction, and we decided to expand it at the same time with help from the municipality and the province and the federal. The expansion will reduce the operating costs in the long term, and good infrastructure is a key economic component to any region. So here's what it's going to look like when we're done. what it's going to look like when we're done. This is a rendering that's, this is pretty much what you're going to see when we're finished out there. So it's pretty impressive. This here, you can see the roundabouts here at 43 and 44, and the one at Shoppers. St. Mike's School. At 19, here's the one at County Road 19. You can see that it is going to be expanded. It will be quite a bit larger. We'll be expanding mainly to the north side on that towards McEwen's. Lighting improvements, extensive lighting throughout the project, some pedestrian lighting with multiple street lights. It will be very well lit. And to let you know that this winter, I know it was dark out there this past winter, but our intent this year is to try and get most of the road works done on this side of the creek. We call this the west side, and the other side where McEwen's is, and Campbell Retirement Stances, we call that the east side of the creek. And our plan is to get most of the road work done on this side of the creek, and we will also have the lighting in place, so it will be well lit this winter. And here's a representation of one of the roundabouts. So it's, they're pretty impressive. I mean, it's probably going to take a little bit of getting used to, I think, for everybody. I mean, with that extra lane in there, I know some people have trouble with single lane, but they're driving skills. And the bridge expansion. The bridge is going to look great when it's done. The expansion, I mean, it's quite a bit longer. It's 3 times actually longer than the existing bridge. And that is to cover all the wetlands and everything else down there. And there will be some work done underneath, creating a bit of a wetland underneath there too. So a habitat, a wildlife habitat. So it's a very extensive project. And the plan is, well, the bridge won't be open before probably until later in 2026.
When? Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Arms get tired. So yeah, it's probably late 2026. It's probably towards the fall. We should be able to reopen it, but that's weather dependent. There's a lot of things involved in that too. So there's water course restrictions too. The times that the water course. So this is basically a breakdown of the work in the estimate. This can change. Some things have been delayed. Some things have been moved forward. It's a work in progress constantly. So we have schedules, we have timelines.
There we go.
Well, Bruce is a musician and does a lot of sound production, so grateful to have his assistance here. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so back to the timelines here. So a lot of these are estimated timelines at the time. Some of them will, let's go through them and see what we got here. So February to July to 24 and 25 is the underground works. We're probably going to be a little bit ahead on the underground works. We're hoping if all goes well to have all the underground works done. I guess we're a little late on it, really. It'd be probably by the fall this year we'll have all the underground works done. The road works this side of the creek, we're hoping to have those done, and the multi-use pathways complete with the street lights. There'll be no road works done on the other side of the creek at this time, not this year. That'll be done in 2026. Roundabout at Shoppers and County Road 43 will be constructed this year. Same with the one at 43 and 44 will be constructed this year. The one at Anniversary Way, you've already seen, is halfway there, so we're almost done with that. That'll be completed this year too. So the 3 roundabouts on this side of the creek will be completed. And like I say, we'll probably have all the roadworks done, but we are going to leave, we'll only allow the traffic to use 2 at this time. We're not going to open it up to 4 lanes on this side of the creek. It's too much transition, and to come off the bridge, 2 lanes off the bridge, to go to 4 lanes, and then to go back down to 2 lanes again. So we're going to leave it at 2 lanes through the winter probably until we're ready on both sides of the bridge. So the community connections. So with the technology the other side of the creek is for 2026. So the community connections, the technology, dedicated website that we do have for this project. There is a camera that's linked to that website too, that's out there on site. And it feeds, it's a little bit delayed, but it feeds in real time. There's a liaison. I mean, we have meetings with the business community. We do have a communications committee, so Tomlinson has been great with touching base with all the businesses out there. The driveways are affected. People have been notified. Sometimes it's short notice, but then they take the time to at least go up and knock on the door. And the media. We've brought a lot of information going out, and we've been trying to keep everybody informed with sessions like this too. So we know that this affects everybody. So we're doing the best that we can, and we hope it's good enough. So as you can see, that all the underground work has been done. There's a little bit going on now on this side of the creek. We're putting the last piece of pipe in now and constructing the road work. And we will be starting again on the other side of the creek before the year is up. And the grading and paving, which you see every day now at 43 and 44, it's such a busy intersection. I'm sure everybody goes through it at least a few times a week. And it can be a little bit confusing, but we're trying to keep the road open as best we can while constructing the roundabout. And it's tough to do, but Thomas is doing a really good job of doing it. We're trying to work from one corner to another corner. We're kind of working our way around the intersection in a counterclockwise direction and trying to keep the traffic open, trying to keep turn lanes open. And we're doing what we can with it, and it can be confusing, but I think all in all, the contractor's doing a really good job. They're doing the best they can, and we make changes as we find fault in it. And then I guess these are the key contacts. If you have any questions, these are the people to get a hold of. Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
So maybe what we'll do is we'll ask Matt to take the mic, and if there are questions from the audience, that way we'll be able to hear you. And Bill, there's a mic right here, so if you sit down, you can, or we have a second. We have a second one, Matt.
Just leave.
Good. And Bill, there's a mic right here that you can also use. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I do have one question. This looks great going up to 43 and 44. What happens beyond 43 and 44, like beyond food basics, where there's lots of housing going in? Is it going to go right back down to 2 lanes really quickly?
So my question is, what happens beyond 43, 44 towards Somerville in regards to the amount of development we're seeing? Obviously, it's a continuation of 43, so do you want to provide a brief comment on behalf of the county at this stage?
At this time, we're only going about 200 meters roughly past the intersection of 43 and 44. Right at this time, the county has no plans to expand beyond that point. In the short term, yeah. Eventually, it will have to be done. There is no plans right now.
So for context, as some of you might know, you may have watched this project evolve for many, many years. In 2018, after I was elected, and Steve Clark was elected at the provincial level, and at that time was a new minted cabinet minister, there was a program called the Investment in Canada's Infrastructure Program, ISIT, came in under the Trudeau government in 2015, and they entered into bilateral agreements with all provinces and territories. So we made a decision at the time as a municipality and counties to jointly pursue up to $10 million in funding, but you had to have a shovel-ready project. So what had been on the books in 2018 for the counties was effectively what had been developed many years prior, and it hadn't evolved. The engineering designs that had been developed, the very preliminary designs that have been developed, basically form the basis of the application with the municipality, of course, and our CEO, Karen Dunlop, was previously Director of Public Works, and I think seized the occasion to upgrade some critical underground infrastructure. But the vision when we got to 2018, the vision that had been expressed for the road expansion in particular was, in some cases you would argue, was already outdated. The project had languished for so long that when we had this opportunity in 18 to aggressively pursue the federal and provincial funding, we went for it. But it was on the basis of a project that really had been developed many years prior. One of the developments as well is we had no intention to build a 4-lane bridge. The project as envisioned, to build, you correctly, had the replacement of any bridge replacement at the time? No, they were going to expand the bridge, but not replace the existing 2 lanes. And there was an assessment done just prior to Bill's arrival under the old Director of Public Works, and it became obvious that that bridge had more quickly reached its end of life than had been expected and envisioned in the earliest of plans for the 43 expansion. So effectively replacing the whole bridge added somewhere between $5 and $7 million. Not just replacing, but replacing the existing bridge and adding the 2 lanes actually increased significantly the value of the work. So that was a bit of a curveball that we hadn't expected at the time. And again, it was just based on the fact that unfortunately the plans for County Road 43 hadn't moved quickly enough towards execution. So what we were left with in 2018 to turn around a quick application for up to $10 million, which we were successful in getting. That application didn't really foresee some of the developments that were already in play. Did I say that accurately? Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you just about covered it. That's correct. Yeah, like initially we were going to do a rehabilitation on the existing bridge and only add a 2-lane bridge beside it. And then, as the mayor did say, yeah, it was reassessed and determined that it needed to come down. So it did increase the cost significantly. Because I think at one time the project didn't look at going as far as Somerville Road, but then it had to be scaled down due to cost.
So we're going to go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes.
That is correct, yes. Yeah.
The county is certainly aware now. Some of you know I served as warden, and so we're very closely with Bill during that period. So I have a 2-year term as warden, and has the baton on, as you do, says someone else. But we are now in the early stages of a conversation about expanding beyond the point at which the construction is reaching. So the county is quite aware that clearly, given the residential development, more needs to be done. But quite frankly, the United Counties needed to get this first phase out of the way and demonstrate its capacity to oversee and fulfill commitments under the existing project. But they're now aware, and some early conversations are happening about how to plan for the future and also act more quickly than had been the case for the first round of 43. Yes, okay, Matt, go ahead.
For a great presentation. Thank you very much for that. However, you did allude to that there have been delays in the project, but you also alluded to the fact that there have been in-project changes that you've done in Tomlinson, moving this to this and things like this. You referenced the roundabout just here. I was just wondering what you're doing to try, from a stewardship perspective, to try to contain costs so that the ratepayer isn't, the cost isn't significantly downloaded to the ratepayer.
And if I might, certainly, I think the municipal costs have been rather stable. I can speak to that. So what was envisioned was more or less executed. I think where things get a little more dynamic is on the timing and some of the shifts, of course, in the road side of things. But Mike, I don't know if you want to speak to the underground roads before we turn it back over to Bill.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, in terms of the underground infrastructure, we have looked at optimizing locations of where pipes are and what's easier to construct, constructability aspect to save some costs. So there's been a collaborative effort between ourselves, the county and tunnels, and to have those conversations about, there is a design. If we adjust this here and there, we can do it quicker. Still the same intent of what needs to be in there. But we just from a constructive aspect, there's been some cost savings there that we've collaboratively come up with.
Bill?
Yeah,
You guys?
we are still, right now, we are still on budget, and we're still basically on our timeline too, so Tomlinson is good to work with that way. I tell you, they come up with some great ideas, and we've got some good people out there, we've got some good heads, and we've come up with some good solutions, some cost-saving solutions. And of course, there is some things that there is cost overruns on too, but basically right now, they're offsetting each other, and we are on budget. So.
It's certainly the counties is bearing the majority of the costs here. Of course, we're taxpayers, both municipalities and counties, certainly. But I would say that when I joined the county table in 2018, I salute the previous council and staff because they had already established a 1% levy for County Road 43, and that levy sort of generated funds that was put into a reserve, and they made it such that, by the time we started this project, it is a very fiscally sustainable project for the United Counties. I can say there were many other roads needs in the counties, and Bill can speak to this, that hadn't been as well anticipated or financially foreseen. So from the county's perspective, I think it's fair to say, Bill, that the county was well positioned to absorb the costs without retreating to a tax rate hike specific to 43. There's many other projects at the counties, such as the expansion of the long-term care home, which is another major capital endeavor, and in some cases there have been less anticipated for that expansion. County Road 43, to their credit, they did see it coming. They just, and Bill arrived after me, but my read of the landscape in 2018 is they really felt that without federal, the assistance of the feds and the province, they were loath to proceed. But in some respects, you could argue it cost more money because then some aspects of the road and the bridge had already deteriorated to the point of needing a total replacement. So, it was one or the other. But the good news is that when the tender came before council, and Bill was there for that meeting, of course, county council, and speaking of, it did receive unanimous consent, which was wonderful to see that the entire, 10 areas are on the table, got behind what is, a resource-intensive project, but again, fiscally is very sustainable for the counties. Yep, okay.
Hello. We're seeing a lot of traffic diverting to other streets and stuff like that. I was just wondering, what's your best guess to see when we're going to get flow-through traffic down 43 without too many restrictions?
And I'm being asked to repeat the question for the live stream. So your question is, what's your best guess in terms of timing, Bill, for, I guess, uninterrupted flow-through traffic right down 43? I think you might be answering them in two parts, because I know you've divided the project into two halves.
Yeah, for complete unobstructed flow with no construction, I would say probably late fall, 2026.
And if you would break it down into the section.
The section now, our intent right now is on this side of the creek, which is the west side of the creek, where the school is, where Shoppers is. We're hoping to be out of there this winter, have everything done there, except for possibly some landscaping. So, but the east side, no, it'll still be, the east side will basically be as it is right now until 2026. So through the whole project, fall of 2026, late fall of 2026.
Any other questions? All right, see a couple of hands. Thank you, Bruce and Matt.
Hi. The biggest problem on 43 is the Shoppers driveway. The light there is changing every 20 seconds. and it's got a bottleneck in both directions across 44 and 43. It's just terrible. I go through there at 5 in the morning, and the lights change it for no reason at all. Can we get that light changed back to where it was before, when people were coming out of their shop for the drug card? That's when it changes?
So just to repeat the question, and we'll answer it. The question is in regards to the lights at the Shoppers Drug Mart Plaza and the fact that it changes often and backs up traffic and is not facilitating good flow. I think Bill is going to tell you about a roundabout that's coming, but Bill, over to you.
Yeah, we had to put that on the timer. That was the only way that it was going to work for us to maintain the light during construction without having to put a new set in there. But the roundabout, that light will be coming up probably within the next couple of months. The construction on the roundabout will start there. But once the roundabout is done in 43 and 44, we'll be moving to the roundabout at Shoppers, and that light will come up. So just bear with us for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's tough. I use that intersectional not to use. It can be frustrating at times. Yes. So advice from the audience on how to manage it for the morning. Another hand, we see. Oh, down here, blue t-shirt. Thank you, Matt.
I just really want to make a comment on how impressed I am with the curbs on the driveways that are going into the businesses on the side of 43. I mean, they're better driveways than they've had in a long time. It looks really good with the curbs and the paved driveways into the businesses. Very good. Compliment.
We had a business breakfast this morning for all the local businesses that are impacted, and we certainly heard that it was a dark winter, right? And some of the delineation using the cones and the what do you call them? Colors?
The
Barrels was tough because visually it wasn't as clear as it obviously you'd like, especially when you're greeting clientele that may not be that familiar or older and are reticent to come out. So we were thrilled to see the curbsides and the entranceways being properly addressed, because it was certainly it was time that happened. So certainly in our discussions this morning, we were getting some good feedback on that. And the good news is, as Bill has said, that section that's being worked on right now, just before the bridge, should be in good shape, right? By the mid to late fall, I think you'll have two functioning, well, you'll have three fully functioning roundabouts. Anniversary Way, right, in front of Shoppers, and 43, 44. So that's three out of four, with the fifth roundabout at County Road 19 to be expanded next year. So our hope is that people will see that, for the most part, at least that section of road before the bridge is very easy to navigate. Other hands? Burning questions? Thoughts? Councilor Sullivan? Yep. Go over here first, and then we'll go to Councilor Sullivan. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering what your thoughts or if you have plans to do an assessment of the impact of, it picks up on the question somebody else asked, of the flow of traffic through 43, but out into other parts of the community. So what does that do both in terms of traffic flow, volume, safety and so on, but also impact on the actual roadway?
Your question is, what's the impact on the community when traffic is sort of diverted or people are avoiding 43? Or did I misunderstand?
What assessments you've done, and or what planning you intend to do to assess the impact of that flow of traffic? Is the flow going to increase? Probably it's a little bit lower right now, one would think, despite the experiences people have had of getting stuff in there. As it gets completed, as sections get completed, one would think there would be that the growth in the community would be reflected on the 43, and that would flow. Obviously, people eventually get off of 43, whether it's at the Somerville end or off into the community. As that flow increases, first question is, have you done an assessment of that? Is there going to be an increase? And if there is an increase, what's the impact of that flow into those off-roads, those offshoots? And then also, what planning have you done to assess the impact on the actual roadway? Because you mentioned earlier, at times maybe a lack of so on. So what planning have you done around those areas?
Basically, what we do is in a situation like this, is as each development comes on, there's a site plan application that's made, and they have to do a traffic impact study. And they submit that to both the municipality and the counties. And then we determine if there's infrastructure that needs to be added, such as traffic signals, left-hand turn lanes, right-hand turn lanes, etc. So that's basically dealt with on a per development basis. I'm not sure, does that answer your question?
Mike, I don't know if you have anything to add from a municipal perspective. Obviously, some of the flow of traffic rate is going off of 43 onto municipal roads. So maybe you might have a very comprehensive plan to ensure municipal road network is up to snuff. So I think you might be able to shed some light on what your plans are.
Yeah, I can just add onto that. For some of our local roads, we do some of our own initial traffic counts on the local roads. We are also right now, we have a transportation master plan. It's out for tender for at the moment, but that will be closing here this year. And that will also look at, again, the master plan of what a road network is, what the growth scenarios look like, and any infrastructure improvements, recommendations they can make from that. So we also have that plan coming forward.
And as I recall, our master transportation plan includes an active transportation plan. So it includes also a pedestrian activity, cycling activity, right?
Yes, that's correct. There's two plans, one transportation and active transportation plan. You can see that.
Hello, thanks for your presentation. Just wondering about beautification. Are there going to be things in the middle of the roadway, some sort of beautification there? Also, notice the gap between the multi-use pathway and the roadways quite narrow. What's the plan for that? Any buffer between pedestrians and cyclists on the road?
So just to repeat the question for anyone listening via Facebook Live, you're asking about sort of beautification medians as well as the gap between the multi-use pathways and the road stuff, correct? Yep. Okay. Excellent. I'll turn it over to Bill. And Mike.
In the medians, no, we're not going to put any greenery in there, and it won't survive. It'll look good for a few years, but then it'll deteriorate quickly with the salt usage and things like that. It just will not survive. Even the hardiest of like salt-resistant plants eventually will skew, and then it'll look terrible. So no. The gap between the sidewalk and the curb, it's kind of funny that you bring that up. Mike and I were just discussing that the other day, so that one's still a work in progress.
Fair enough.
So a little more work to be done on how the multi-use pathways configured, given the sort of the ample sort of shoulder that's there. Mike, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, for sure. It's something that we're having an active discussion on. The main piece of that is that chunk becomes a snow storage area between plowing from the county road and, of course, plowing for the multi-use pathways. So what goes in there with that snow sitting on there is something we're trying to resolve.
Because the multi-use pathway is considered public works infrastructure and will be maintained year-round, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Which is why you're having to accommodate, obviously, for snow and winter in particular. Right, okay. All right.
Hi. Question. Is this an accurate representation of what the 43, 44 roundabout is going to look like? Or is that just a concept at this point? Well, no, not so much with the trees, but I do have a question about when you're coming out of the old Kempville, if you're coming from the south and going north on 44, you see anybody who's going straight on 44 has going straight to continue down 44, let's say towards the municipal center. According to that drawing or that picture, you're having to cross 2 lanes, but there's only 1 lane that's going around the roundabout. And that seems pretty awkward to me. There's an arrow where you have to cross the lane in the roundabout. There's 2 lanes at the bottom part and only 1 lane at the top. So it might be awkward to cross over and go straight. I use that intersection all the time, like a couple times a day.
So the question is just on how one navigates that roundabout.
Yeah,
at 44.
Because part of it is 2 lane and part of it is only 1 lane, all on 44.
Right.
And people come and they whip through, typically on the roundabouts, and so it'll be awkward to get across. And I'm thinking, at the roundabouts I've been on, when you're trying to go across 4 or 5 lanes.
So we're going to ask Bill to speak to this. Many engineers were involved in this design, so we cross our fingers and got it right. But over to you, Bill.
Yeah, we looked at that quite a bit, you know, it was basically the same way that you just mentioned it. Now, you could go down to Shoppers and take the other roundabout that comes back.
I have done that.
We put that in for drivers like yourself.
It's just that's a really busy intersection, and
Yeah,
it's not
it will
just
be
coming
very
in
We
from the
talked
north.
about taking the concrete island out of there. We knocked that around a little bit, but we decided that we were going to leave it in to basically divide the right-hand turn because the traffic is pretty much an equal split when it comes up 44 there, going down to 43 and going north on 44. So, but you are right, it is going to be a little bit awkward and it will take some getting used to. So,
I think I'm more concerned about, like, once you're in the roundabout, the fact that it turns into 1 lane. It's not so, yeah, sure, you're splitting the traffic, but there's that concrete barrier that comes across. Why not just have it 2 lanes all the way around in the roundabout? Because then you can come in and you can either go left or go straight, or go right or go straight. Whereas this is awkward, in my view, but.
Well, one thing is about the curves that are there too, is they are mountable curves. Like it's not a barrier curve that'll stop your car.
I just want to stop the other car.
But I don't think it's going to be. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be all that busy that it's going to be that difficult to get across. Maybe certain times of the day. But
I'm thinking of buses that are going there too.
I could be incorrect, but I believe the roundabout at Colonnade goes from 2 lanes down to 1 lane. It's 2 lanes east and west and 1 lane.
It's
north
2
and
all
south.
the way around though.
It's 2 now. No.
no, just a moment. Yeah, no, that's correct.
People need to get used to using their signals
Yeah,
on their yards.
that's very true.
Get it going straight.
Matt, we have another question. Go ahead.
Hi, on that thread, since our EMS fire and Peter coming north to south to downtown core, going from 2 lane, crossing 4 lane, going back down into the narrow streets, and I just wonder, from roundabout to keep the traffic flow going, where the stoplights prevent, stop the flow of traffic. So if your EMS is coming from a county road of 2 crossing a 4 lane, going back into a 2 with response time, would that affect it? Or, I don't know for roundabout, whatever, like, I'm not an engineer, I'm just asking the question. I run that road almost daily, so I know what the traffic flow is there, so I have a pretty good understanding of it. I just often think, when I watch the traffic flow, with the stoplight, at least stops for the EMS to be able to go north, south, east, or west. Whereas a roundabout doesn't stop that traffic flow when you have people, a heavy populated area in such a short span of going from a 4 lane from the 401 just to the junction of 43 and 44. That when you have your EMS trying to get, say, to my mother's house, which is south of how much confusion has that been thought of? And I understand that engineers are very good at their jobs, just there's the practicality of it, right? You've got on paper, and then you've got the usage.
So I think the question is in regards to how we safely would navigate that intersection going north.
Yeah, how are you mitigating the stop-start of that, and then how are you mitigating it going from a 2-lane crossing a 4-lane back to a 2-lane?
Yeah.
Because, and then getting through the, and not affecting response time northeast, south, or west.
Okay. All right, that's a great question, Phil.
Well, right now, we only do it, there is only a single lane up there right now. So, I mean, it is an improvement. It does have a secondary lane.
Right, but there's stoplights, so it's a clear intersection where people know, lights, stop, look, go. Whereas a roundabout is an active, it merges traffic, whereas a traffic light is a stop-start, not a traffic flow, right? So, and sometimes you need stoplights, and sometimes you need roundabouts. I'm wondering, on EMS, and going to the downtown core, and going across 4 lanes, going to 2-lane, 4-lane on county roads in a short distance, which, from a practicality and usability, and realistically, what's the best to serve for safety and response?
Well, for safety, it's definitely a roundabout. Nobody gets T-boned and nobody gets killed in a roundabout. And all accidents in the roundabouts are minor accidents in roundabouts, so safety-wise, the roundabout is a better intersection than a stoplight.
Right, but just because of our EMS both being north of 43, not having them, like if our EMS, like if our police and fire were down on either side, do you know what I mean? Like it's that juncture that I'm confused about. Not against, just confused. How it's going to operate effectively and at the best.
Yeah, I'm not a traffic engineer by any means, so but just even like you say, from what we see at the lights today for fire or police, they come through, they come up the lights, whether they have the green or not. If it's red, they do stop. Lights, sirens, that does usually stop the other opposite direction of traffic, and then they move through safely. They're going to do the same when they come up to this roundabout. They're going to have lights and sirens on. The intent would be that the traffic moving east-west would probably be able to let them come through because they're in a rush. Once it's safe to do, the vehicles would move through the roundabout, get out and let the rest of the traffic come. So that would be the intent from the EMS perspective.
And I understand that, and in my brain that works too, right? Like logically that works. From a usability standpoint, from a practical standpoint, is that something that everyone is going to be able to handle, right? Going from 4 lanes, because you're going 4 lanes, people are going to be coming through pretty quick, and they're going to want it, everybody wants to get through, and then and then you've also got that shorter stop with the 200 meter, it merges back down into a 2-lane off 43, so you don't have that kind of long, merging out. So it's kind of like, for lack of a better description. And I just don't know how, whenever I know that EMS obviously goes to roundabouts regularly in all kinds of places, but at that particular juncture, that, is that the best for keeping response times and clear? Because I would like to think that everybody would stop, but I mean, I see it, we've all seen it.
Just a question from here. Is that a roundabout or not?
They gotta use the mic. They gotta use the mic. People can't hear.
Oh, there's another one first. Oh, yeah.
Hi. First of all, quick apology to everybody. I live pretty much in the upper right-hand corner of that picture, so I apologize. These are more specific questions than some people in the room are worried about at this juncture. First one, nice and quick. Is it possible at some point to update the latest things on northgrenville.ca? Because the last time I was on there, it was still showing the James Street Circle instead of the Shoppers Drug Mart one. And so if we could get you have access to those more up-to-date pictures, so you can, plan around their houses and that sort of thing, that would be great. Beyond that though, at one of the first meetings, there were some current concerns that were brought up against potential drainage issues that were being brought up from having all that extra blacktop for houses and that along the side, especially considering that a lot of ditches on Lydia and Elvira and that sort of thing are almost completely filled in at this point. And it was said that the municipality was going to be looking at doing some infrastructure upgrades along those streets at the same time to make sure that all that extra blacktop pouring water down the sides doesn't end up in our basements. I was wondering if there were any updates of what was planned along those lines. And then the other one, which you can either answer or defer afterwards, there's a lot of people along the roads there that had some of their property had plans placed against them for this project many years ago. And now that this is going through and that land isn't being used, is there a part of this process in which those plans are going to be reevaluated and perhaps released so that we can use our property?
So drainage, number 2, on some of the municipal roads, right, connected to 43. Number 3 is the release of restrictions on property use, given changes in design on 43, where previously there had been anticipated impacts, and now there isn't necessarily. And your first question again was just
if we could make sure that the plans in the
right, easy.
the most updated ones, because they are getting a little outdated.
I totally agree. These new digital renderings, I think, are 2 weeks old, so we will absolutely make sure that the website is up to date. We're very excited to have these. It took a long time, but totally hear you on that. So maybe Mike, you can handle drainage, and then we can speak of restrictions on some of the properties that have been identified as being impacted but are no longer.
Thank you. We are, unfortunately, we are still working on those assessments. It's over a master plan, so I don't have a specific update for you. It is still on the list in the works, but I have no concrete upgrades to today.
We have a stormwater master plan under development, looking specifically at urban roads. So that study was activated over a year ago, but it's not yet at completion. Is that?
Yeah, we
yeah.
anticipate to have that done by the end of the year. So that will hopefully give us some direction on where we're going to go with that.
When 43 was planned, and I know Karen Dunlop was the director at the time, in looking at some of those adjacent streets, as per the gentleman's question, was it very likely the case that some additional drainage would be necessary when we were initially contemplating sort of the impacts of an expanded road? Can you speak to that?
For 43 itself, the intent of it is that the stormwater along Canada Road reflects into the roadway. So the road shouldn't be significant, but in terms of, it was mentioned over the years, ditches have been filled in and some of those drainage improvements, those are the items that we're looking at.
And in terms of any potential restrictions on properties that had been anticipated to have been impacted by County Road 43, I know we don't have a director of planning here, so I'm not sure if we can speak to that this evening. Mike, did you comment on that? That would be both a municipal and a county issue on some of those planning matters.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with properties in our so I could speak to openly on this.
So I think we would encourage any property owner that is curious about whether or not those restrictions still apply to come in and talk to municipal and or county staff. Bill, anything else?
No, I couldn't add anything to that because I don't know which properties are affected.
But please do reach out because it's easy to get some of those answers. So I appreciate hearing from anyone who feels that they may have been impacted in a way that no longer applies. All right.
Well, would you be kind enough just to turn around and explain that picture there? Because we're all here quite confused what the hell we're looking at. So,
has it in front of him on the screen.
okay, so in other words, if you just try to explain to us, like the blue thing on the corner, is that a quickie?
That's Syntax.
Yes, Syntax.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I guess it was the old quick, yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, so that's Centec. So further down the road is Myers then, right? The other side. Yeah, right. Okay, so that's Centec. All right, I think
That's Jim Perry's.
Yeah.
That's Jim Perry, it's not Myers, yeah.
That's Perry's.
That's Jim Perry's across the road there.
Yeah, at the top, right, you'll see that's Motor Trends, right, with the bowling alley, right? Further over. So if you can orient yourself to the Motor Trends car dealership, then that should help you make sense of the roundabout.
Got it enough?
Yep. Thanks, David.
Those 3 lanes.
And we certainly have to ask questions about the navigability of the roundabout, particularly this one, so I think it's going to be very closely monitored to see how the traffic flows, and by virtue of it being completed this fall, if there needed to be adjustments or a pivot, there's certainly a good time to do that.
Because you get the community, it's a lot of older people
Mm-hmm.
and have to navigate the roundabout to begin with, plus 3 lanes going into a roundabout now.
Yes, certainly, the comment was there's lots of seniors in the communities, and there's a lot of new drivers in the community too who are getting used to newer, more modern road features. So lots of learning for sure. I see that. Anthony, you have any other questions?
Just a quick, please, a question about I know the construction ends west of this roundabout, but is it going to be a footpath or a place for bikes and people to walk from Oxford Village down to, from Somerville down to the main part of the town? I just wondering if there's, whose responsibility is it? Is it county or municipal to put some sort of pathway between the new houses going in west of this roundabout?
It won't be a link right to 44 at this time, but the county is going to this year. We are going to pave the shoulder from Pine Hill to the Capital Plaza.
Not Somerville.
Pine Hill. Pine Hill.
The Oxford Village entrance to Pine Hill. Yeah. Well, we are doing that. We have a contract coming up to tender with part that included in it. I'm not exactly sure when it's coming up to tender, but it will be done this year.
Thank you.
And certainly I would say that Mike and his team, as there's more residential development, are looking at how to connect folks from some of those newer developments all the way down to where the new 43 starts. And there's discussions at the counties about ultimately how to ensure very solid connectivity between we'll call the new 43 as the new 43. But there will be a paved shoulder with bollards that will be 4 seasons a year to help people get into some of those newer subdivisions from Pine Hill, recognizing that there's a sidewalk on the Kemple Mall side all the way up to 44. So there is pedestrian connectivity that gets you to the Pine Hill roundabout, but then it's a question of how you get the rest of the distance. So we're extremely conscious as a council and as a municipality of the fact that we need to plan ahead for some of that connectivity. So we're doing our best to create safer roadways, pathways in that regard. Someone was asking what sort of greenery there will be in the roundabouts. So Mike, I think that's, I don't know if that's your department or Bill's, in terms of we see some greenery in there. Have we made decisions? I think we were talking to Ferguson Forest Nursery about potentially taking their advice and some of their products for certain aspects of 43 beautification. Bill, do you want to speak?
Yeah, we do have plans, and there is a plan schedule in the contract, so it does identify the plans. I couldn't tell you what they are right now, but they are hardy plans, and they are, because they are in the center of the roundabout, they're set further back from the salt too, so they have a better chance of surviving. And we need those
flashing yellow lights attached to the PXOs in the roundabout. So how will those be signaled in the roundabouts where you see the pedestrian crossings?
Yes, there will be flashing lights on all pedestrian crossings.
Sorry, just to clarify, anything across 43 and County roads need to flash on some of our local roads, the sidewalks, or just the regular pedestrian crossings, so they'll have the signs, the lines, they'll have it just on the flashing. But across 43, all of those across 43.
Okay, other questions?
Hi. So while we're talking about go slow and traffic,
Can't hear.
can you hear me?
Take the mic.
Hold it closer to
Oh, sorry. I live on County Road 18, and I've seen a dramatic increase in traffic from 43, people circumventing 43, and I understand why they would do that. However, I live very close to a school zone. As Matamay builds up and as construction ramps up, we are County Road 18, Somerville down and into town and crossing over is going to, it's going to be busier. People are going to be speeding more. And I've got a little kid that needs to cross the road to get to the bus. And a dog. And we like to walk. And I don't have sidewalks on my side of the street. So I have to cross. So in those residential areas, specifically between Somerville to Pine Hill on County Road 18, what are the plans to ensure safety for those residents and the school children? Because Holy Cross is also growing as our population grows, and they take in from all areas. So you can just let me know.
I can start by saying that Council just a couple of weeks ago has taken the next step towards implementing automated speed enforcement in at least one community safety zone over which we have direct jurisdiction, and we've appealed to the counties to enable us to have automated speed enforcement in front of Holy Cross, because it's a community safety zone. You can use automated speed enforcement only in community safety zones, so we have 4, but we know that, to your point, Hilliard Street East as well as in front of, we're on Concession Road, are 2 very highly congested areas, multiple facilities certainly on both, and lots and lots of traffic. So one of the best tools at our disposal as a municipality, through the leadership of the Provincial Ministry of Transportation, is automated speed enforcement. It's only one tool, it's not the be all end all, but it will certainly go a long way to slowing people down.
Right. So then what's the Leeds County going to do? Because my area is in theory governed by Leeds County, and we're getting the runoff traffic, especially with Matamay growing quickly, I should say, and 43. And I do appreciate that you are going to be putting in speed control, I guess, in that area for the children. I just am concerned about the west, Hilliard Street West.
Pedestrian facilities are the responsibility of the township, not the counties. So sidewalks and stuff would be the responsibility of the township, but I'm sure that the master transportation plan being put together by the municipality will address that.
It's not sidewalks necessarily, it's getting to the other side of the road, like how the
Yeah, with the traffic, I mean, people go where they go. I mean, we can't, we don't have any plans to do anything out there. And yeah, you're probably right, the traffic has increased with people avoiding County Road 43. So hopefully that'll be alleviated when 43 is done.
It's a growing area. It's why we felt the master transportation plan was so critical, as well as the active transportation plan. We still look at those kind of hotspots area. And I think I meant to say Hilliard Street West for automated speed enforcement, not east. So apologies. But we certainly know that Mike and his team will be working hard, and there will be a consultation phase, particularly for the active transportation plan, to flag some of the things that we're hearing from parents like yourself in the school that's had major concerns, right, about the safety of kids and families in that area because of the very limited facilities to get buses and cars into the Holy Cross Elementary School. So we're certainly cognizant of the pressures that are being faced in certain areas, and I'm very hopeful that the active transportation master plan will certainly give us the opportunity to be more comprehensive and allow us to make more investments in those areas. So Bill is right. These are largely municipal responsibilities, though we need Bill and county colleagues to sign on to automated speed enforcement on county roads. So we're working towards that now because we can, as a municipality, we can only use automated speed enforcement on roads over which we have jurisdiction. And 3 of our community safety zones are on county roads. So only one is not on the county roads. So we're working hard to get those into place.
Right, because people are really gunning it off of the Somerville.
Yeah.
They stop to the Holy Cross.
Yeah,
Which is hilarious because where are you going to go?
I totally understand.
Yeah, really.
We have a couple of other questions via Facebook.
Just the verification for the phrase going to be 2 lanes in each direction from 44.
2 lanes in each direction for County Road 43 all the way from 44 to the 416,
That's correct, yes.
right? To the 416 exits. Okay? 2 lanes in each direction. Julie, was that your only question?
Yeah.
Okay. And one more question over here.
Just picking up on the person was asking about, I know it's challenging when you're running this kind of a construction project and it's dynamic, I'm sure, from one day to the next or 1 hour to the next. But it seems to me that the basic pain during the day, on a given day, is when the traffic gets all backed up, right? And then you start seeing drivers take off down side roads, or in some cases honking at each other in an intersection, all that dangerous behavior. So is there anything you can do to try to minimize those situations where it gets backed up from, across 3 roundabouts all the way down to the 416 or the other direction? Or is there anything you can do, or a contractor can do to just minimize that? Because that's ultimately the issue that I think is being mentioned, is because generally speaking, people don't mind going on 43 if it's a somewhat predictable flow, a little bit heavier, a little bit slower than what normal used to be. But if you're sitting there for 5, 10, 15 minutes, now you're getting frustrated, and now every other driver is going to do something stupid.
Yeah, we're trying to minimize it as much as possible, especially during the peak hours and everything too. But if we stop work during the peak hours and stuff, all we're going to do is prolong the project and we're going to drag it out. But we try not to do some of the activities that restrict traffic during the peak hours if we can. We try and work the project around that, like with the flagging and things like that, but it's not always possible. We do keep that in mind, and we do what we can with it, but there is times that it's going to be a problem.
I think we're all experiencing that and seeing the frustration of drivers. So I think as council and the municipality as a whole, we get it, and it's very regrettable. And to your point, Bill is on site 4 days out of 5 typically, so I know he's monitoring things very closely, and clearly, Bill, where we can mitigate, that's obviously ideal, but we know that there are periods during the day or sometimes during the week where things bottleneck, and it's obvious that when it's bottleneck, the impact is very significant because, to your point, you can get traffic congestion, heavy traffic congestion and stoppage all the way up to Colony and beyond. So it's something that hopefully once we have the 43-44 roundabout and the Shoppers roundabout complete, should diminish, because that section of road will ultimately be flowing as it should. Is that right? Any other questions? a couple more, and then, if you want to come up and talk directly to Bill, or Mike, or myself and, council staff and council colleagues, you're more than welcome to, but go ahead.
Hi there. My question is about the approaches to the roundabout. Are there going to be any overhead signage? I mean, it's great when having it on the road. When it's busy, you can't see the road. So you need some overhead signage to tell people what lane to get into, to where they're going around the roundabout. Yeah?
The Bill approaches to the roundabouts. I'm not sure what other communities do, I'd be curious.
Yeah, there'll be, there's quite a bit of signage that'll be going in there upon completion. It'll be well delineated. No, there won't be overhead, no, they'll be to the side. But they're gonna be quite open spaces, like, as you can see from Anniversary Way, it's quite a large roundabout. There's a lot of open spaces and the sight lines are good. So they'll all be roughly the same size.
Anything else? Great. Oh, sorry, over here.
Yeah, just one more. I know we're beating a dead horse on traffic being diverted, but I'd just like to emphasize it as well. I live on the street where we just put a sign down in the middle of the street that says 40 kilometers an hour, and people are having a real fun time carrying them down consistently. So, just to emphasize, you're really trying to get back to some kind of normal traffic flow, or at least let traffic flow proceed on 43, because these people really don't like going down side streets, and they're letting us know.
I think you're referring to Wellington and the new signage on Wellington to try to keep people at 40.
Ones that keep disappearing in the middle of the night.
We have, through our local OPP detachment, there has been a new strategy to deploy traffic safety officers to kind of hotspots. So I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but there has been a notable increase of OPP traffic enforcement officers in certain sections of town, and we can certainly highlight Wellington as another area. I drive Wellington a lot too, so I've seen some of the signs disappeared or damaged, so it's obvious not everyone is adapting as quickly as we like. Also, I just wanted to clarify, going back to the Collier Street discussion, that of course we have the sidewalk running all the way from Somerville in front of Holy Cross, but I know there's sections along the way where if you're coming from the other side of the road, it's tough to make it across it safely, so that's...
Yeah, it's all residential
Yeah.
on the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, that's clear from Rideau Street all the way. It's all
That's right, yeah. I got you. Okay. Any last questions, Bruce or Matt? Julie, anything else online from what you were?
No.
Oh, great. So here you'll see some of the new renderings. Again, these just came in a couple of weeks ago. They allow you to take a little bit of a tour. We're going to have these renderings here in the municipality, I think at the library, on the arena side, just to give folks a clearer visual understanding of what's coming. So these took several months actually to come to this point, and we're very grateful to our communications team and Bill and Mike who helped to ensure that they are as accurate as possible, recognizing of course that there may be shifts and little changes along the way. So we're thrilled to have them because we know this is such a big project, and it wasn't easy to imagine the end product. So these come as close as possible right now, and we look forward to more formally featuring them outside of this meeting in many of our municipal spaces. But you get to have one of the first looks at them, so feel free to come down and more closely examine the features that you're interested in. Once again, I'd just like to thank Bill, of course, for being here and sticking with us during this project. He did have the opportunity to retire completely and leave us at the United Counties, but made a very deliberate decision to stay and see this project through. And we're very grateful to you, Bill, for that, because a change in leadership at this stage, really mid-course through Canada Road 43 construction, would have been really tough, I think, on everyone, both at the county and the municipality, and those were some really important relationships with Tomlinson and Aegis. So I'd also like to thank Mike, who is regularly absorbed by aspects of 43 on the underground side of things, as well as on the features for which we are fully responsible. So this is definitely a major preoccupation for the counties and the municipality, but clearly we all agree that the long term, we certainly hope the short and mid-term gain ultimately results in long-term gain in safety. Ultimately, the pitch we made to the province and the feds when we put in the application in early 2019 was based upon road safety, because this road was no longer safe. It wasn't navigable in a way that we would expect in this day and age in terms of lighting, in terms of the number of lanes, in terms of some of the intersections, and in terms of no pedestrian facilities of any sort. And we're seeing a lot of residential development in and around Somerville. We're also seeing a lot of residential development, as we all know, on the Equinel side, as well as related developments. Temple is another example. So it became exceedingly obvious that we had to act as humanly possible on this road. So it's a big project, and I think, as I've seen it, the community has been incredibly patient. So for those of you watching online as well in this room, thank you very much for your graciousness and your patience and your understanding. And some of you are having online conversations and trying to support others and seeing the long-term vision here. So for the most part, we feel that the community has been very, very understanding, and that is much appreciated, because there are times when the disruption can feel incredibly frustrating. So thank you again all for coming. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mike. Thank you to our staff. Thanks to Bruce and Julie that made it possible for this conversation to be live streamed, and you can go back and listen to parts of it. And again, please encourage friends, neighbors, colleagues to take a listen if they want to get more specific information. We plan to do this again in the fall, so mid to late fall we'll do it again and give you an update, and we'll continue the conversations with local businesses as well. In addition to our business meetings, we launched the Discover 43 campaign in the early spring of this year, just on the basis of what we were hearing from some of the businesses who felt that a proportion of the community, a small portion, but nonetheless notable, was sort of avoiding 43. So now we have a Discover 43 page, and it features all of the businesses on 43, and we're seeing quite a number of new businesses actually coming to the community map. So I think if you go to discover43.ca, you'll see a page that's specifically dedicated to businesses both existing and newly arriving on 43. And we obviously encourage everyone to stay local, shop local, support local, in all the ways that you can during this period. And maybe I'll leave there. Is there any final words, Phil or Mike?
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.